Today is the first Sunday of Advent. Advent is the Christian season that builds towards Christmas. So using the story of Mary's pregnancy, Christians relive those last few weeks expectant. The world gets dark and often cold. We move inside, we get cozy, we light fires, we wait for the birth of hope. This is the cycle. This is the story, the myth, the metaphor. Every year, 1 billion Christians and a whole lot of other people who can't resist themselves lean into this story. It begins today, the season of waiting. The church of my young adulthood moved services to the evening in Advent so that it was dark. Advent is about the dark. That's part of the metaphor. It's a reflection of the actual reduction of life 90% of the world's population is experiencing. It is dark. Mary is pregnant and she waits. We wait with her. We wait all month in a whole lot of cultural, communal ways. We have Christmas countdowns. We open daily Advent calendars. We recount all the stories about Mary. We talk about the suspense of pregnancy in our storytelling. We even make a huge deal out of Christmas Eve, so popular because it's the closest we can get to Christmas morning, the final moments of anticipation. And then there's Christmas, the birth of Jesus, of hope, of light, if you're willing to use light, dark metaphors, which generally I'm not, but do kind of pervade this time of year. It's the star song, the end of waiting, the meeting of the newborn, the shift into the new world, the end of what was and the beginning of what will be. The liturgical year ends and begins over and over again as we wait once again in the dark. That's it, every year. We wait, we count, we expect, we anticipate, we celebrate the birth until the next year when we wait again. And I'm going to be honest, I love this. It is my favorite season. I like Advent more than Christmas, maybe because I think it reflects our real lives more. Also because nothing can really live up to the hype of all the waiting. The waiting really is the best part, even with a child in the house, which I have, even with tons of gifts Christmas morning, even if we plan the perfect day, it'll never quite justify an entire month of build-up. But we're going to do this again next year anyway. In reality, the final weeks of pregnancy are alive with expectation, but the birth isn't one day. It's not even 12 days, as Christmas might be. It's forever. If you had a baby, it's a lifetime, but that's not how we celebrate this. We wake Christmas morning, celebrate the day, the birth of hope in the world, and then we sleep for a week, pack up, and go on with our lives. This is how you know the birth is a metaphor. There are no crying babies, no life-altering situations, nothing has changed. The season ends, we move on to what's next. In this case, the season isn't so much about Christmas, but about the weeks leading up to it. It's about Advent, about the season of anticipation, of preparation. The pot of gold at the end of the rainbow in our real lives won't have much consequence, but we dedicate an entire month building up to this great reveal. I suggest we turn our attention to how we spend the Advent season, since this is, as far as I can tell, where hope really lives. In fact, while the last few weeks of pregnancy are about waiting, it's about a lot more than that. As anyone with 4 weeks left to give birth can tell you, it's about gestation. It's about creation. And that's what brings me to the Visitation. Right? So Christmas is about the birth of Jesus. It's about the baby, and it moves from there. If you're Christian and going to live your life according to the teachings of Jesus, Christmas kicks things off. After the birth, the story really is about his life, his work, his death, the transformation of the world in response to his message. And those things are beautiful. and worthy of our consideration, even our dedication. But in the very real lives of most UUs, in our shared spiritual practice, we don't spend much time after Christmas focusing on those things specifically. For us, the time spent during Advent is more relevant, more alive. What we do in the month of December, year after year, is more reflective than what we do on Christmas Day. The story of the Visitation is a reflection of so much of the socializing we do this month. And this story recasts the star of the show. The Visitation, happening in this pregnant moment, is about two women, more than two male children. It's about family and friendship and solidarity. It's about all the relationships that happened before, about all the people who make one life, Jesus' life in this case, who make that life possible and important. It's a moment in history when two women share their joy, their concerns, and they partner to move through the waiting, to move through the trepidation, to prioritize their bodies and their love for each other. A few years ago, a good friend of mine, her daughter-in-law was killed. She was shot by her own father in her own home. He then shot and killed himself. My friend's son was grieving. The whole family was grieving. My friend was holding all of them with so much of her own sadness. Because the death was violent and stunning, people really kept their distance from the family. Their own minister never even called. So I went to the house for a visit. I told my friend, I'm coming to sit. I said, we don't even need to talk. Like, she shouldn't cook, certainly don't clean anything. I'm coming to sit. And we did. We sat on the couch for a long time. She told stories. She cried. Mostly, though, she didn't move at all. She didn't speak very much. I made tea. She held the warm cup to her face, and she breathed. I touched her hands. I kissed her head. And I sat. We sat and we waited as grief and fury moved through. It was a visitation. It was a holy time. In birth and in death, we visit. We meet each other in our joy and our grief. It is who we are. It is what we need. Now as much as ever, or maybe more than ever before. The Advent season is an invitation to visit. I'm spelling that with a capital V, visit. Be with each other. There is an end and a new beginning later, like all stories, a place we're heading where the story will turn. But for now, we're waiting, and the waiting is holy. It's the in-between space where we create the world we're waiting for. It feels in some way like the whole world is waiting. Everywhere I go, people are talking about fascism, authoritarianism, climate disaster, the end of democracy, the rise of the right, the disintegration of the world as we know it. We don't seem to be preparing for something, though, as much as we are just waiting for it. We're waiting to see what the election cycle will bring. We're waiting to see if there will be accountability for trying to overthrow the government. We're waiting to see if our fellow countrymen care about the implications of the rhetoric of the day, or if they or we even understand it. There's a pall that's setting over the land, a sense of foreboding. I've been watching what's happening at the climate conference in Dubai as world leaders, those who showed up, are making compromises that prioritize profit over planet and concede to concessions that are leading to our own destruction. Almost 30 years of United Nations climate conferences and emissions are still rising, making 2023 the hottest year in human history. Fish in the Irish Sea are lifting their heads above the water so that they can get a break from the boiling sea. And we are watching them doing the equivalent of nothing. We are waiting. And here we are in Advent, the time of waiting, but also the time of gestation. This is not a time of passivity. Mary is creating a baby. Life happens in the dark. Worlds are conceived. There is no Christmas without Advent. There's no baby without pregnancy. It's now that the world is created, now that we are designing and building and producing hope. If this historical moment is fraught, if the world is hanging by a thread that seems ready to tear, then this isn't our time to do nothing. It's our time to visit. When people are feeling worried, when grief seems to be just over the horizon, we can use Mary and Elizabeth as our model. December is often a very social month, but I'm hearing reports that it doesn't feel that way to everyone this year. I don't know if that's true of all of you, but it's really a lot of what I have been hearing. I don't know how universal that is, or even why it might be happening. It could be a backlash from last year's feeling of liberation after two very tempered Christmas seasons, or if the pandemic broke so many of our social bonds, we're finding ourselves without all the invitations we used to have, or maybe saying no is more the new normal, creating greater isolation. But there seems to be less celebration in the holiday season this year. Do any of you feel that? You are feeling it. I mean, that's what I'm getting, right? It's just sort of not what it was. You too. It isn't what it was. And so I'm going to say, given that, it's time to visit. This is the hour of incubation, of construction, of creation, and we do that together. If we're going to give birth to a new world, if we're going to give life to hope, we're going to do it in community, in partnership. And please tell me we're going to do it in love. Mary brought nothing to Elizabeth but herself. I mean, Lord, she walked 80 miles, right? She's carrying like some clean underwear. That's about it. But what she brought is her love, her care, her concern. She offered her time, a sharing of her life. Elizabeth was in transition, pregnant, facing some level of danger, and Mary brought herself. That's what we have to offer. We bring ourselves to each other. Next week, Leslie Mackenzie had the lovely idea of having a birthday celebration for folks over the age of 90. We offer ourselves in celebration of life. Janice has started a new gathering some Sundays for caring and exploring in community. We offer ourselves in shared spirituality. When I hired Brother Zachary, I told him I'm looking for an Anamkara ministry, a ministry of spiritual presence, which he has so deftly embodied. We offer ourselves in spiritual companionship. When people are sick, Esther often brings them bone broth. We offer ourselves in healing. When a congregant had surgery last summer, a team accompanied her to appointments, assuring she wasn't alone in all the medical things she had to navigate. We offer ourselves in care. Brother Zachary and Reverend Jude have started a monthly brunch for people in their 30s and 40s. We offer ourselves in friendship. Our choir is open once a month to all the people who love to sing together, who then share and bring us beautiful music. We offer ourselves in joy. Our council will gather right after this service for some lunch and strategic planning. We offer ourselves in shared mission. And we visit. We visit each other in times of crisis, in times of celebration. We visit each other for fun and friendship, to aid in grief and loneliness. And we visit in love. Over and over again, we become the bodies of the visitation, the people of presence who are not just waiting, but who are gestating, who are creating a new world, the one that will be born of our love and companionship. This isn't about waiting passively for a single day of celebration, but about embodying the new world in all the days leading up to it. It's the designing and weaving, the sitting by warm fires, embraced by the comfort of darkness. It's incubation, it's gestation, and it's happening between and among us as we here together today are again part of the making of the holy ground on which we stand, ready with each other for our own visitation.